always going to be there because the three of you were some of the few that decided that I'm going to take the risk above everybody else and make sure that there's a space provided. We had no. There were some months we had no idea what was happening. We went in quarantine, out of quarantine, 6 feet, 3 feet. Absolutely. Restaurants closed, restaurants open. So it was a risk. So absolutely, this brings us into our second discussion point, which is really what I think people need to hear in this podcast because struggles are real, and some people will never know. We have maybe the privilege of complaining and not realizing what was at stake. So if each of you would be willing, starting with Nancy, what was one or two really main struggles that you haven't forgotten that you went through during your role during the pandemic?
Um, I guess one of the struggles was, or the biggest struggle was probably, should I repeat it? I know how bad everybody needed it, but at the same time, it's like, is it the right thing to do? There's people obviously in your face, and that's the last thing you should be thinking of. You're making a really bad decision and making me feel really guilty. But then you have the other people that are like, please, please something. Um, you know, I I'm breaking down at home. I'm going through all this mental breakdown that is just unhealthy for everybody. So I think that was my biggest struggle, and obviously the police confrontations that we've had. Um, that after that, it's like we could get into a lot of trouble for doing, but just all the positive feedback I think is what we stuck with, and the fact that everybody really was grateful for what we had to offer. We wanted to keep doing it. We wanted to keep facing those people. So I think that's what helped us push through everything. And as much negativity as we got, I think we're all go-getters. Whatever's happening, whatever's trying to stop us, we're just going to push through and make it happen either way.
As Michael was sharing how these events really seemed organized, one day after another, I could tell the difference how things got better. Yeah. You took feedback seriously, and I would see you at the events really making sure what was working, what wasn't. So let's be clear, as organizers or DJs or promoters, as venue hosts, there's always a system of reflection and progress and pushing through. So I want to make that clear. That was done. I could tell as
sure, I can attest to it as well because I know I spoke to Brandon like once because of course I sweat profusely in these events, and I brought it up to you about like the AC situation and bringing in fans into events and seeing even something as small as that be acknowledged. But then just the little details, like you just could tell how Miguel was saying how each event, just especially for like the brunch events and then chapter and whatnot, just the various elements that you guys brought in to make it so interactive. To make these events so interactive, from the photo booth to the enlistment, like hiring bartenders and bar staff from that standpoint. Skee ball, like everything. I mean, shuffleboard. Even though I'm horrible at that game, but I still try no matter what. In addition to having really quality talent from from a musical standpoint. It's just been so impactful for all of us. And yeah, like I said before, like it's a like you guys get nothing but praise from me and Miguel from that standpoint. Because like I said, you guys saved so many in this space, especially in a big market is like LA. Like you have no idea the lives that you guys saved by progressing and moving forward in the ways that you did.
And we also want to recognize that, there's really two sides of this narrative. There's two ways that have really developed, unfolded, and how we can provide bachata to the community still. And that's why it's important to get both sides, because we're not here to judge one or the other. We're here to respect the journey. And now the destination going forward into summer, how things are very light and are unfolding with less measures. So we really are excited to hear from DJ Hawar, from how he was able, from his different narrative in NorCal, how we were able to navigate with your talent, providing bachata and that space in the community.
Yeah, thanks for that. The narrative here in the Northern California, here in the Bay Area, was very different. There wasn't anyone who was taking those risks. I think for the most part, the DJs, promoters, and instructors understood the importance of their community, you know, and the importance of of COVID and what was how the effect would trickle down, you know. Um, Me, you know, I was on a high right before COVID. I was literally playing in LA, like I had played Steven Steakhouse, I had played LABF, I had played Legacy. I mean, I had hit all the spots that were the spots to be at. And on top of that, when I got home, I had killed it. So, you know, Invincible was like, "Hey, I want you to come to Bachatopia," which is boom, like that's at another level. And he's like, "April, you're coming," and I said, "All right, let's do it. We're gonna have some fun." And that day, I remember that day there was an event that's here in the Bay Area. One of the like the most respected promoters, Miggs, asked me if I could play his. I think it was, is it Labor Day? Is the first summer, right? Labor Day, yeah. So Labor Day, that's his biggest night. Sunday night, no work on Monday. Hot bachata nights in San Francisco. If you don't know it, it truly is hot bachata nights. Like the hottest dancers, the hottest, you know, the prettiest men, the sexiest women, the V-necks are in full effect. I mean, it is just a great venue, and he asked me to play that night, and I was like, oh man, I'm vibing, and then LABF came back and said you're coming in the summer. I mean, going into 2020, it was gonna be a great year. I was just ready to go. You know, COVID hit. I had my own events. My events went from like, you know, I was doing promotion at that point. So my event at Opal, which was my at the time was Bachata After Dark, had gone. I had done it 5 times, so it had gone from like 50 people to 200. And the next one, I'm like, I'm gonna push that to capacity. I want to get it at 300. And I was driving, 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 and COVID hit, and I canceled it before anyone canceled any events in the Bay Area, mainly because I'm a father. Like first and foremost, I'm a father, and so the trickle down effect of COVID for me is much bigger impact. They have their mother has their you know her mom and a grandmother who's 80, and I'm just like, you know, if I go out there and I'm being responsible, I'm not only affecting myself but so many people in my life, and there's no way I can keep distance from my kids. Like I need to, you know, like hug them and kiss them. So I knew that I was not gonna you know risk that. So I canceled my event, and I went to the Guitar Center, and I'm like, so if I wanted to play online, what do I have to buy? And there was like the nerdiest guy, and he's like, "Oh, I got it. Okay, we're gonna walk around, and I'm gonna tell you about the benefits of every single piece of equipment." And I'm like, microphone stands, you know, iRigs, everything. He broke it down, and he's like, "Look, and if you really want the real experience, go get OBS. You got to look for OBS." He was a gamer. I found a gamer, and he broke it down for me. So I think that was like on a Wednesday. So Friday night, I set everything up, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Saturday night, I was depressed because I had quarantined. So I quarantined, and then I started playing music online. So that's my story. Like I decided to play online, and I never looked back. Like I didn't have an event. I didn't go play at an event until much later because I just wanted to be responsible, and I played music online. And you look at the progression of like my first from my first online you know whatever stream to what I do now is like my voice changed, my like delivery changed, my music selection changed, and COVID allowed me to practice my craft, my instrument 5 days a week, not two, but 5 days a week. You're talking new music. I was looking up new music. I was connecting with other DJs around the world. I was pulling from everything I could, and I became such a good DJ online, right? I delivered everything, the experience, and playing online is so much different. And to your original question, what did I suffer from the most? Two things: seeing people dance in front of me, one, right? Because that's the joy, just seeing people enjoy the music that you're putting out there. And the second one was human hugs, just hugs, like from my friends, from people I didn't know, just hugs, like those two things. And and I found solace and comfort in playing online because I met new people from all over the world. I have listeners from Texas, from New York, from Israel, from Spain, from Argentina, from where else? Russia. One of my biggest marks is Russia, right? The markets is Russia. I mean, when would I would ever play for a Russian audience? But apparently they tell me they love me there. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. So it's kind of crazy that I've gone through, just playing online in my bedroom to being this DJ that now plays like I literally weekly play on a radio station, Bachata Central Radio. I'm a DJ on a crew that includes Soltrix and York. I mean, that's my crew. Are you kidding me? Matatan, I got Paco, I got Limbo, Israel, Holland, New York. Those are the people, Paquino out of Spain. Those are the people that I associate with now because of the pandemic. Never in my life would I have ever thought that that would happen. So, I mean, there is good and there's bad, but the path that I took is a lot different. I didn't play at a venue, but I decided to capitalize and really take like you said, like scrap at what I could to really come up and establish my craft. The end.
Thank you. Thank you. And you know what, Mike? Michael, I remember hearing Brandon's story. You were touching a little bit on those risks you took. And for the sake of time, I think I would love to hear your struggles, but also perhaps touch on those risks. I would love to see how we could have Alejandro, Nancy, and Brandon. By all means, we'll take a step back here, and we'll love to see that roundtable happen and see those connections on how those risks that you took, that could be also a struggle, how they've really come to fruition now. I see how that's really benefiting you now, Alejandro, the road you took. So all of it, yeah. So let's go ahead now and jump into that last question. How have these risks, these struggles turned into opportunities? How have you seen the fruits of your labor now, and moving forward, progressing into summer? Let's go ahead and start with Brandon.
All right. Well, it's interesting because, let me talk about a little bit of the struggle a little bit here. Two of the main things that I really struggled with, I guess, during this whole thing was just the concern for whether or not I was doing the right thing or not, right? That was a big thing for me. You've got one side that's just like, yo, what are you doing? It's COVID, like everybody's supposed to be inside, and then you've got this other side that's like, I need this, sort of touching upon what Jay was talking about earlier. I need this, like I feel isolated and I'm going to dance. Like I need that in my life. So eventually it came to a point for me where I realized people are going to do what they want to do one way or the other. If they're going to stay home, then that's what they're going to do. If they're going to go out, then that's also what they're going to do. And so what I tried to do was basically step in and say, okay, fine. If there's a large faction of people that are going to go out and do what they're going to do regardless, then why don't I step in and make it as safe as possible for those people to do that? So when I started doing these events and everything, and Nancy will tell you, I was extremely hard on our group and what we were doing in terms of making sure that we had hand sanitizer on every single table in there. There's a lot of tables in that warehouse, okay? Making sure that we had temperature checks at the door, making sure that we had specific personnel that was literally cleaning during the event, wiping down surfaces and all this kind of stuff. Masks required, all these different things. I was really hard on our group about, and I was a stickler for it. And that's kind of one thing that, quite frankly, kind of pissed me off about New Year's Eve, was because somebody, I mean, there's different stories out there. One story is it was bound to happen and the cops were going to show up one way or the other. The other story is that somebody called the police and sent them to the warehouse that night, right? So if you want to go with the second story, then what I feel like that person did was they broke up the safest event that was taking place that night. It was New Year's Eve. Everybody was going to go out one way or the other, right? So what they did was they came and busted up a party where all of these different safety measures were taken and put in place. And because, you know, the festivities ended before midnight, obviously it's still pretty early in the night, all of those people went off into these little splinter parties and they were just partying in people's living rooms, crammed like sardines in a can, just, you know, no masks, no safety precautions, no nothing. So you broke up the safest possible event that was taking place that night to create much more chaos in other spaces that and we have no idea what sort of ramifications those had. Because I know that everybody that showed up to our event that night, nobody had a fever, right? You know, people had their masks on. We can document that. You can't document that in somebody's you know, den, right? So you know, that's kind of that was one struggle, was just sort of like navigating, you know, whether or not it was the right thing to do. And obviously I came to the conclusion that I could only be responsible for myself, and everybody that decides to attend an event can be responsible for themselves as well. And if, you know, and that's pretty much where it lies. So that was one struggle. Another struggle for me was working with friends. Working with friends. That was a struggle I did not foresee, right? I've been called a prima donna. I've been called all sorts of, you know, just all sorts of different things. And I get it. It's true. I'm really aggressive about making sure that these events go the way that I want them to go. I'm really aggressive about detail, right? You talked about detail and all that kind of stuff, Chris and Jay. Like, yeah, I'm big on that because to me, prior to the pandemic, I felt like a lot of the events in LA were stale, to be honest. I felt like it was very formulated. We'll go get this DJ. We'll put him in this studio. They'll play this same exact mix that they played last night at the last venue. And we're going to charge you $10 and we'll see you tomorrow night for the same exact thing. And so I said, like, no, like, not only do we have an opportunity to do something new and fresh, I think that with that new and fresh, that's something that should continue beyond the pandemic. And that's why I think that I've had a little bit of success here, is because the things that I've sort of put on together have been different. You know, like the space that you guys are sitting in right now, like, you know, there he had it had all these, you know, random games, pool tables and shuffleboard and all this stuff that you're talking about earlier. And, you know, I think the normal thing to do would have been somebody come in there and say, clear it all out, get it all out of the way. We don't want any of that in here. And I said, well, why not? You know what I mean? Like, it's different. I think it's cool for somebody to come in and you don't necessarily have to dance bachata. Like, I wanted that space to sort of be more of a, like, just sort of a kick it place, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, you can come here and you can dance if you want, but you could also play beer pong with your friends in the corner if you want to do that. Or you can go and play some pool if you want, you know. But we've got, you know, we brought the vendors in there. We had the fruit guy in there. We had the elote guy in there. You know, we and everything has been different. We've had different themes. We had a mermaid at the last thing. I've passing out Jello shots at the last thing. We gave out free pizza at one of the events. Like, it's just, I felt like a lot of the promoters and a lot of the people that had to do with the big events that were taking place in LA were sort of looking at people as customers and not as fellow dancers or fellow, you know, people in the scene. And sure, if you want to call me a promoter, whatever, I guess that's what I'm doing now, but I consider myself a dancer first, right? That's how I got into this. I'm always going to love dancing. And so I see myself as a dancer attending these things myself. And so when I think of it that way, then I like, okay, well, as a dancer, if I'm showing up to a place, like how would this be dope? And that's how I sort of formulate what I do in these different spaces. But again, with all of that comes all right, I want it done this way and I need it done that way. And I'm not going to accept anything less. And I'm going to yell sometimes. And yeah, sometimes, I do asshole shit. Yeah, I get that. I do that. You know what I mean? But it's all for the benefit of, everyone. And eventually, I try to rein it back, and I understand that I can be that way sometimes, but I try to rein it back and I have those discussions like, hey, my bad, didn't mean it, but I was just trying to get this done. And at the end of the day, that's why everything has been as successful as it has been, is because of having that attitude.
I'm really glad that we were talking about struggles, because these struggles also were risks, and it's clear now to see what you guys are looking forward to in the summer. So we would love to hear from each of you. It's plug-in time.
Let's
I mean,
going down.
I can't wait to know what's ahead of us from all three of you. So we're gonna start with the amazing Nancy. What are you looking forward to as the venue host this summer? What can you tell us is gonna be exciting for us to go and perform, dance?
Summer coming in.
And hot boy,
Let's go.
hot boy, hot girl summer. What can we look forward to?
There's a lot to look forward to. I've been approached by a lot of different people, and not only in our dance community or our arts, I guess, genre, but there's a lot of different types of events that are wanting to take place here. Obviously, my most favorite is going to be our bachata event, but there are, I mean, this is a multi-purpose venue, right? So we have from production to private parties, quinceañeras, weddings, things like that. So we definitely have a lot of things lined up. I know Brandon has a couple coming up this month, so we look forward to those. But my intentions were never to be better than any of the other existing pre-COVID venues, places that we would all go to. I started off learning how to dance at Stevens, so that's always going to be like my OG spot. And a lot of these little places, Granada's and every other venue that was doing really well pre-pandemic, I will still continue to support these events and go to their, to those venues. And I wish everybody the best. Like I said, I'm trying to be like competition or anything like that. I just want to be able to provide something different for our community. And hopefully we'll have a lot of good things coming up.
That's right. Yeah, so how about you, B?
Well, several things going on. I've got a traditional night that I run with Zonic once a month, every month. So actually the next one for that is going to be this coming Friday. This coming Sunday with Nancy and Memo as well. I've got the day party that we do also once a month. So that'll be 3 to 8. And then next month, obviously, I have the concert with Relio. And I haven't said anything to anybody yet. I haven't even announced it yet. But July 2nd, I'm going to do a bachata versus reggaeton night. So we're going to try to bring two very different communities in together in the very space that you're sitting at right now. And it's going to be a crazy night. I've already got my reggaeton DJ. Her name is CC Love. She's like she has nothing to do with bachata. It's going to be a really interesting thing because I'm going to basically set up 2 DJ booths, and we're going to really do a versus. So it's going to be her doing her 2 reggaeton songs, and then my other bachata DJ doing 2 bachata songs, and they're just going to go head to head all night long.
I might be available for that.
I don't even know
Hey,
how
man,
to
let's talk.
feel
No,
about
let's
that
hear it.
one, man.
I have no idea.
Oh, I haven't hired my
Hey,
bachata
brother,
DJ yet for
people
that.
tell me like, I don't know how you turn bachata into reggaeton, but you do it, brother. Like, so, hey, man, let's talk.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So how about you, DJ Jaguar?
So yeah, I got some events coming up. It's been interesting because coming out of COVID, I was like playing in front of my computer, working on my voice, being all sexy, and then doing the things that I do. But then my microphone talk and my, I don't know, they say my presence, yeah, gave me opportunity to take lead. So I'm going to be the featured DJ in Cancun for the Cancun Salsa Bachata Festival. I'm planning a men's wet t-shirt contest.
Oh, I'll be there. I'm ready.
Is that co-ed?
I'm ready. I got my speed ready.
No, no, it's men only, and the ladies will be splashing the men at the pool. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, and then I got my own event with Aurelio. He's doing his album release party in LA with Brandon, and then he's gonna come back home to the Bay Area. So he'll be doing his release party at my new event called Jaguars, sorry, Jaguars Bachata Jungle, and you get to dress in your jungle print. There'll be jungle juice at the bar. There'll be an
What?
animal balloon drop. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. So we're gonna have some fun. That's July 1st here in Mountain View, California, right at Opal nightclub, and then I'll be back in LA for LABF. So for Los Angeles Bachata Festival, I'll be playing there. We're talking about where I fit in the list. So me and Soltrix will be back, and I'll be there too. So that'll be fun. And then I'm probably gonna head to the Netherlands. I've been invited to go do the Central Bachata Radio Music Festival happening in November. So we're talking about going to the Netherlands in November. Yeah, so I think that's. Oh wait, I gotta go. I'm going to Miami. I'm going to Miami next month for the um, the the Miami Salsa Festival, and we're taking over the bachata room. So I'll be doing bachata there as well. So yeah, man, I got a lot going on along with my events. But LA, I grew up in LA. It's my home, and every time I go back, I like to play for that audience because they're really knowledgeable, right? They know their music. Brandon, I don't know if you know, but I know you. Like I know you. Like when I go back, so me and So Nasty, we have a good relationship. So when I go back to LA, he's always like, "Hey, come play." Like I'll go, "Hey, man, I'm ready to go." So I remember a couple of times I saw you, and I look at you, and I point at you, and say, "I got you on the next one." And I play some Dominican, and you're like, "Oh!" So I know exactly
Absolutely.
what you like. I know exactly what you like. So it's nice to see that Chris has found really good friends out there, really good partners also. Because as men, it's hard to find good partners and good men who are willing to have discussions that most men aren't. So he has a way of attracting those kind of people. So it's nice to see he's taking care of it over there as well. So I call him Christian because that's what I know him as. So yeah, got a lot going on, but thank you again for inviting me. It's been a crazy, roller coaster. But I can't, honestly, if Chris, if you bring all these people together, then I think we should all work together. So let's make it happen. Brandon, you give me a call. Nancy, I'm available. LA is my home, so I'm ready to go.
All right.
Absolutely,
Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely.
Well, first of all, for Dominican King, I can't wait for this next event that's coming up soon enough. But thank you all for everything you guys continue. It sounds exciting. It sounds amazing going forward for this summer. It literally is going to be a hot boy, hot girl type of summer. Like, it's going to go down. And I appreciate all your contributions. We all do. But yeah, absolutely. Like with all being said, the pandemic has been really crazy, but you guys are warriors, in the scene and making things happen in a really amazing way. I know me and Miguel truly appreciate that. Truly appreciate your presence on here tonight. So yeah, absolutely. Till next time, Everybody, this is the Chapter Uncensored signing out.
Thank you.
See you later.